Today I hosted a webinar and a mini workshop on primordial geometry, primordial knowledge, and primordial language, the primordial symbolic language. It has been extremely interesting to share this information with some candidates of the peace project I am intentionally organizing and trying to develop. It's an old project, but the interesting part I want to share with you today is that um, in the last 20 years, noticing the interest, curiosity, aspiration of my students and my coaches and trainees, of my customers, the level of appreciation they had for the knowledge, but in particular for the practical outcome that can be created with it for their lives. And certainly for my advice and perception and insights that are a result of my study and practice of the wisdom of the knowledge I've been researching and developing. So when we consider that I'm spending already more than 30 years in the practice of this knowledge, in the research, in the understanding, and creating practical applications for it, then certainly there is an outcome also in my life that I consider all my customers and friends and students appreciate. And I think for some of them, the level of complexity, diversity, multidisciplines, and the vast knowledge that primordial knowledge brings to them and the metric skill methodologies and tools challenge them to work with simple principles to process complexity utilizing all of these tools and their own brain capacity, and very much to integrate that in the daily life. And I think most of the time people just want solutions for practical things that they want to solve and maybe for achieving specific goals in their life. And in witnessing all of this knowledge and resources and tools there, I am certain that they look at it with admiration and respect and care. Yet in the practical mindset of our modern times, we really look for solving some pains, and once those pains have been solved, or the hidden mysteries of our own personal situation unveiled, then they feel ready to the next step. Some of them try to continue with the journey, and for them it's probably even more challenging. So what I have learned in time is that the practice of some of our methods will help them keep themselves in track, in rhythm, tuning in with the process, tuning in with the knowledge, with the connection, with the realization of the value it has for themselves. As we are living as modern citizens, our life connecting with patterns of thinking, behavior, and feeling that bring us further away from nature principles. And once we experience the power of nature principles within our own body, emotions, and mind, in our purpose, then we find it fascinating and enriching, vitalizing, regenerative. We want more of it, yet every time we interact with the normal world, we get repatterned once and once again. So it requires from us not only to enhance our performance, continuous practice, but also to care for our buffer and to hold on what we have learned and notice when other ways of thinking and perceiving and living influence our lives so that we can make our own proper choices. So in this dilemma, that is the dilemma of life, how can I become who I am and stand for the choices I made, and enrich my life with the knowledge and experiences and freedoms I would like to enrich my life with, and what the world around me tells me or influences in me, intentionally or not, subconsciously or not, then in this inner battle for our own holistic freedoms and realizing our own holistic wealth, the challenge is on how we master ourselves into the journey. So in this context, I have experienced that for most of my successful students, those that could stay with me longer than 1 year or two learning until they complete some milestones in the development, they dedicated themselves to some practices that help them a lot. One is the metric cube breathe method that utilize a special algorithm to enhance our consciousness, regenerate us, to increase our buffer, to create an increasing quantity and quality of energy that is necessary to do a lot more than what we would do in normal life if we would just sleep, eat, and work and have normal free time and leisure. This extra amount of energy is the one that helps us to achieve those things that otherwise we wouldn't be able to achieve, and help us being connected to our purpose and our heart. Then on the other side, we have the yoga practices, the primordial sound yoga, that help us to tune in and keep our mind focused and our brain patterned and tuned to high-level frequencies. Fractal time that help us to use the rhythms of the day to regenerate, to experience 4 times the amount of time in a day. It's like, for me, the days have been like 4 days in one, and I'm feeling my day is really expanding to the same sensation I had of the time of a week already. So from my experience of time awareness, fractal time is expanding my time within one single day, giving me the possibility to learn almost everything I used to learn in one whole week. And it's expanding probably to 9 to 12 days, or maybe one day, 27 days. The usual learning process of 27 days I will have in one single day, which is amazing, right? Fractal time helps a lot to connect our rhythms, our cycles, our hormonal shifts. There is another tool that's really powerful, which is this one that helps us navigate transitions, change, complexity, ambiguity, uncertainty, that in our times is certainly very important to connect that tool with our purpose, with our happiness, with our ability to learn and to evolve. Then we have the golden triangle of entrepreneurship that help us think our business and our process, synchronize it with nature principles and cycles so that we can empower the process with specific algorithms. And so on. There are many other practices like dancing practices that are very conscious, the martial arts system that help us to ground ourselves but at the same time have a functional use of our body, the meditative practices that help us to be stable and quiet and calm, the dance practices that help us to work with our self-expression ability, the yoga practices that help us to ground ourselves, the conscious sexuality practices that help us to co-create with our male-female androgynous principles together. So in that sense, when we engage into these non-cognitive practices that are themselves pathways to learn primordial knowledge, geometry, and language, we enhance our capacity to learn and to use time to deliver value through the learning process to create a higher level of outcome. And at the same time, it helps us to keep us on track, connected and moving and evolving and learning and accelerating our journey, creating a compound effect of learning and outcome with our journey. So therefore, I am certain that these practices are great assets for all my students. And I think one of the most important upgrades that we can give to our students this season or this year is to encourage them to do these practices with certain discipline, to participate in our community of practice, because that's what will help them connect to the collective consciousness, collective imprint of primordial knowledge, primordial language, primordial geometry, primordial sound, so that we can really tuning together, and for them will be more easy to access to the wonderful knowledge, holistic systems, algorithms that Primordial Knowledge has to offer to them, and transform the life even further, into a holistic lifestyle, purpose-driven lifestyle, a creativity, entrepreneurship, freedom to making choices in the way they want. I think that would be wonderful, right? So, and I hope that all my students and new students will commit to these suggestions, because I have witnessed the best that they can do if they want to learn in our ecosystem at the Matrix Q Academia.